Well, hello. This is the movie NP with today's episode, the vlog where we discuss movies and how they can be applied to better our lives. Um, the movie today we're going to discuss is If or Imaginary Friend. This is the latest from John Krasinski, Ryan Reynolds, and Kaylee Fleming. But the best performance of all is from Brad Pitt. I am more than confident that he is going to receive an Oscar for this film. So, spoiler alert, here is the plot. It revolves around B, a 12-year-old girl, who, in Disney esque fashion, we quickly find out that her mother is dead. Her father needs a life saving surgery. And probably most likely as a result of all the stress and fear about losing her parents, she begins to seeing imaginary friends. She learns that these imaginary friends have lost their original kids because the kids have grown up. So she decides to take it upon herself to help find these imaginary friends new kids. But unfortunately, what she discovers is that the kids today lack the imagination and creativity to see these imaginary friends. So then she decides to shift gears and help these imaginary friends find their original kids. And she does this by trying to help those original kids, or now who are now adults, uh, remember through memories these imaginary friends. All the while doing this, she's assisted by her odd neighbor, who's played by Ryan Reynolds. Now, right off the bat, I knew this film was uh, fictitious, and it's not the imaginary friends that did it for me. It's the fact that her dad got to stay in the hospital for 6 to 7 days without the insurance companies trying to throw him out. The second uh, tip um, that this movie was fictitious was that everyone in the hospital, every worker in the hospital, was happy, smiling, and was very pleasant. So there you go. That's how I knew right off the tap that this is a piece of fiction. So there's a lot to unwrap here, and a lot of good stuff that we can get out of this movie. A lot of the themes are include coming of age, finding your purpose, um, that memories connect people, places, and things, creativity, and one of the recurring themes of this film is the quote that you are never truly alone. And to discuss that one real quick, we can take a lot of confidence out of the idea that we truly are never alone, particularly if we want to use that going into situations that provide us anxiety or give us anxiety to help cope with that. Because if you really think about it, if you're religious, spiritual, we truly are never alone. We've always got God to rely on, our spirit guide, an animal guide. There's all kinds of things out there. So you can take strength from that you've always got someone that has your back. Um, and interestingly enough, there have been documented cases where people have had hallucinations that were helpful to them. Oftentimes, hallucinations and mental health disorders are negative, um, but in these cases, they were positive for the individual. Um, a few of the people that have climbed Mount Everest have reported that they believe that they had somebody with them during the climb. One gentleman even spoke about sharing dinner with the individual and conversation. But then the descent down, they find that this individual disappears. Um, Another example of this is there's a movie called Jungle, and the main character in this is played by Daniel Radcliffe. And Daniel's character gets separated from the rest of his friends while they are hiking through the Amazon jungle. And to survive, well, not to survive, but what helps Daniel survive, or the character, is that he begins to hallucinate, and he has these helpful hallucinations. One of which is a female that, what happens is he becomes kind of the knight in shining armor and begins to help her. And this helps him by shifting his focus from his struggle to survive to helping her to survive. So yeah, this stuff happens. Um, the other thing is creativity, and we all know that there's been studies done that creativity boosts productivity, boosts confidence, all these things. So how can we be more creative and kind of spark that creativity within ourselves? Exercises: writing, drawing, painting, playing a musical instrument, learning a musical instrument if you don't know how to play right now. Um, and then some other coping skills or exercises I found was one that was called the six hat exercise, where you take a situation and you see that from multiple points of view or multiple angles. One of which could be what are the benefits, another one would be what are the risks, feelings involved in the process. So there's several versions of this, but they're all pretty much the same. Is that you make yourself see the situation from multiple angles. Uh, Another exercise that I love, I used to use, and this is great fun on dates. I wish I could take credit for this, but I know a lot of people like to people watch. And one of the fun things you can do here is kind of make up a story about the people that you see in the crowd. What are their backgrounds? What are they doing there? Where are they going to? And that's just a fun exercise that again sparks creativity. One of the quotes that I love is from the book Through the Looking Glass, and I believe the Red Queen says this, and she says it to Alice, and she says, "When I was your age, I would do for a half hour a day. Why? Sometimes I would believe in six impossible things before breakfast." So just brainstorming, just sitting down with pad and paper and writing out some stuff, coming up with some ideas, being trying to be creative and think about crazy impossible stuff. This all kind of builds that muscle of imagination. So um, and when I was a kid, I had a poster in my bedroom with Albert Einstein, and it said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And that is true. I mean, we need imagination to be able to create knowledge. We need knowledge to then create imagination, and it becomes a cycle of creativity. Einstein himself talked about how he would use these mind experiments. You and I would call it daydreaming, but because it's Einstein, we can call them here. He calls them mind experiments. But this was critical for him when he was trying to uh, understand how um, gravity worked, and led to much of his work, his very important work and theories of relativity and such. Um, and that leads to something that I found in my research that I found very exciting. One of the reasons because the this is called the Batman effect. And there's a little bit of history behind this, but those of you that know me out there, huge Batman fan. And quite frankly, I've used this stuff in my own life. And so it starts out with one study that asked a bunch of individuals. They had one group that they asked them to see a stressful situation from the inside out, from the center out. Then they had another group that they asked to envision the same stressful situation, but as if they were a fly on the wall. And what happened here was those that disassociated and saw themselves as a fly on the wall um, ended up having far less anxiety than those that saw it from a central point of view. This led also to another study or another phenomenon called the power of the alter ego. Um, Creating an alter ego for yourself creates confidence, can give you boost your power, um, and get you to do things, propel you to do things that normally you would not do on your own, right? And then this leads ultimately to this thing called the Batman effect. So this revolves around a study where they gave a bunch of kids, they split them up into two groups, control and experimental, and they gave them a very boring task to do. I think it was something like go to this computer and sort out these pictures. But they told the kids that this is very important work and you're really helping us out. And the longer you do this for us, the more you help us out. Um, so the experimental group, what they did is they asked them to identify with their favorite superhero, and oh, here, by the way, here's a cape for you to wear. Um, those kids, here's the big takeaway, folks. Those kids were able to continue with the task 23% longer than the control group, than the people that just went in being themselves, doing the job. Those that identified with a superhero, wore a cape, were much more productive than the individuals that did. So this goes back to one of my beliefs is we got to play games with ourselves. Life sucks sometimes. Life is not easy, right? Um, so we have to trick ourselves, play games with ourselves, boost our confidence, do things that otherwise we normally would not do. Help us decrease our anxiety by playing these games. Um, Now, this film also reminds me about a couple other films, a couple other classics. One of them is Drop Dead Fred, where the main character, played by Phoebe Cates, goes through a divorce. And uh, by way of that, her childhood imaginary friend pops back up into her life and begins creating chaos. And as they said on the back of old VHS tapes and DVDs, um, hilarity ensues. Um, Another classic that this reminds me of is The Neverending Story. And in this film, the world is ripping itself apart, and it's the end of the world because there is no imagination or creativity left in the world. And it's left to one boy to save the world by using his imagination and creativity. And the takeaway today is, in the immortal words of Figment, dream can be a dream come true with just a spark from me and you. So I hope you like this video. I hope this helps you out. Like and subscribe. Um, Comment below if this helps you out. And please share this with a friend. And that's the best thing you could do for me. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next week with yet another edition of Movie NP.